Day 19 of 365 days of meditative magic. Today's meditation was less intense, eventful, emotional. You could say any one of those words than it has been the last maybe 3-4 days, 2-3 days for sure anyway. So I was back to where I was maybe, I don't know, again, 4 or 5 days ago, where my body was a little bit more anxious and squirmy and didn't want to sit still, and that's all fine and dandy. I think I meditated for about an hour and a half, maybe an hour and 45 today, and I just sat there, had a little bit of emotion. One of the things that I haven't mentioned before, I don't think, is, and this is harkens back to a meditation I did called the Heroic Heart. I think the first year I was meditating, I encountered this meditation, a guided practice, and essentially you sit there and you visualize someone that you love in your life. So they suggest, a family member, a spouse, your mother, that sort of thing, and you visualize that person, and you visualize that person's suffering. And if you do that and it's somebody that you care about, it doesn't feel great, and you start to well up emotionally a little bit, to some degree or another. And then you visualize breathing in deeply, and as you breathe in, you are breathing in and absorbing that person's suffering, and it turns into a bright, warming white light that you exhale out into the world, or exhale out back towards that person, sort of a healing, soothing white light. And you continue that process, and then after a while you imagine maybe somebody else that you care for, but not to the same degree that you experienced with that first person, and then you imagine somebody who you're a little more neutral with, maybe a coworker or something, and then you actually go and imagine your enemy, and you kind of continue this process, and then you imagine every being in the entire world, and then you imagine the entire world itself, and so you go through this process of breathing in all the pain and suffering, turning it into this white light, and then exhaling it out as this soothing, calming, nourishing, healing energy. So every once in a while, I will sort of play on that a little bit if I'm feeling very emotionally unmotivated in my meditations, and I'll tap into that. So today I actually used my grandmother as the point of focus, and it was effective. Definitely felt an emotional response as a result. So that's a technique you can try if you want to try and elicit some emotion in your meditation, if you find that you're not getting there emotionally. Other than that, I did a little bit of mantra work. I cannot recall exactly what mantra I hit on today. I sort of felt around a few different ones. Nothing was profound. I did a bit of visualization again of a future life, and again felt not just visualizing a future life, but feeling after visualization, feeling gratitude for it. So I did that process as well, of just getting to the point where I'm excited about it and grateful for the potential of this happening, or the potentiality of this occurring. So that was today's meditation. I know I mentioned it before, and I don't think I did it. I'll see if I can find a copy of that Heroic Heart meditation online somewhere and link to it. I don't think my explanation necessarily does it any justice. Also, for anyone out there who is looking for another reason to meditate, maybe beyond mental health, for myself, I do it for my own mental health and well-being. I also do it at this point just for the experience of it itself. I do quite enjoy the experience. I do it for the fact that it brings me into the present moment, not just in meditation, but in my day-to-day life. I'm more aware of what I'm thinking. I'm more aware of my actual behavior, my intentional behaviors, my automatic non-intentional behaviors. So I do it for a number of reasons. I sleep better. I think more clearly. I'm able to focus for longer. Number of reasons I do it. But one of the other reasons that I know that some people do it, I think Ray Dalio talks about this a bit, financial guru. I think he meditates twice a day for 20 minutes at a time, and he comes out of his meditation and writes down sort of what pops into mind. A lot of people take inspiration from their meditative practice, or they get aha moments in meditation. And I have experienced some of those for sure. And I'm listening, or have been listening to a podcast recently with Lex Friedman, and he's interviewing Donald Hoffman about consciousness. And they talk about the idea that we are a portal into consciousness, and we are all the same consciousness, and essentially our lives are consciousness experiencing itself. So that's the idea, but they got an interesting quote from it that was, "I am consciousness, the author of space and time." So it's the idea that consciousness creates our reality. I quite like that idea. I do find that if I am conscious in my day-to-day life, not running on autopilot, and intentionally directing my thoughts and behaviors, my reality is quite different. So even if it's not at a sort of cosmic or magical or spiritual level, there definitely seems to be something to that phrase, at least for me, that I've experienced in my life. One of the other things that this gentleman, Donald Hoffman, touches on, which I think is quite interesting because I've heard it before as well, is that he touches on the fact that he thinks science will go on forever, that it is infinite. And Lex, the interviewer, then poses the question, well, if that's the case, won't scientists just eventually sort of give up because it's a pointless endeavor? And once they realize this, and just spend all their time being rather than doing or seeking. And Donald Hoffman actually proposes the idea that he thinks they'll split their time doing about half of each, just being, and then the other time doing in pursuit of knowledge or greater understanding. So he also mentions the fact that a lot of great inventors, a lot of great creatives in the past have drawn on the practice of just sort of being. I do it in the form of meditation, but being as a means to getting a spark for a creative idea. And great inventors in the past have talked about the fact that they weren't actively thinking when they came up with an answer or a spark of inspiration for something that ended up being a breakthrough. So if you are looking for some sort of breakthrough in your life, then perhaps the answer is to just sit and be. So yeah, anyway, this episode was just kind of headed off into a random direction. I don't really plan too much. It's kind of just off the cuff. So yeah, hopefully that wasn't too far out there. And if you enjoyed it, great. If not, well, maybe one of the other episodes will be more up your alley. Or one of the other videos, I guess. Yeah, that's it. In closing, if you're struggling with your mental health, if you're feeling anxious, depressed, worrying excessively, ruminating excessively, distraught over what you're thinking or how you're feeling, sort of feeling out of control or unable to regulate, talk to somebody. Coach, parent, sibling, cousin, aunt, uncle, colleague, HR person, friend, chat groups online, obviously professional, so therapist, counselor, psychologist, etc. Reach out, tell somebody what you're thinking, what you're doing, how you're feeling. And if you feel like you've hit rock bottom, just remember that once you've hit the bottom, it can only go up from there. So stay strong and take care of yourself. Have a great evening.